Full fathom 5 thy father lies, of his bones are coral made, those are pearls that were his eyes. Nothing of him that doth fade, but doth suffer a sea change, into something rich and strange. Sea nymphs hourly ring his knell, hark, now I hear them, ding dong bell. Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers takes place in a world where metaphysical light, near universally a force for good in both Final Fantasy XIV and the franchise as a whole, has overrun and extinguished nearly all life and preserves the last fraction of what remains in an endless day, presided over by twisted and strangely beautiful eaters of sin. It's an odd thing to see something you believe in and trust, light, turned vile and terrible like that, like an ideology that the world tells you is the way things are, but which causes untold misery to all under its thumb, bar the precious few at the top. The angelic sin eaters may be the physical enforcers of this status quo, but it's the gleaming city-state of Yulmore that enforces it more subtly, by convincing the surviving populace that because this is the way things have been, this is the way things must always be. There is no hope to bring back the night, no hope to bring salvation to this blighted land. The most you can hope for is to drink and be merry while the world crumbles to ash. The Yulmorans are terrified of change, terrified of their place at the top of this world ending, and thus are willing to do unspeakable, monstrous things and turn a blind eye to horrendous atrocities as long as it preserves their revelry a tiny bit longer, by convincing the world that theirs is the only life one can lead in this world, that this is the only thing someone can aspire to be, that the world can only be this and can never be anything more. They can remain sitting on their throne, made of poor and vulnerable people. This is the world, Yulmore declares, and this is all it can be. Resistance is futile. But they're wrong, because over the course of this game, you, as the warrior of darkness, bring back the night to the world, and eventually overthrow the corrupt government of Yulmore in an actual revolution that sees the entire world working together as one to defeat the god at the head of it all. Yulmore is wrong because you prove it wrong over the course of the game, and it's also wrong because there was a world before this one. At the end of the game, you find a beautiful city beneath the waves, a magical Art Deco wonderland that feels like it was pulled from a completely different world. And that's because it was. Emmett Selk, the game's central antagonist, pulled this entire city out of thin air and his own memory. Here, FF14 players learn the backstory of the evil Ascians. Once upon a time, in the world before this one, they were these strange creatures who wielded total power over creation itself, able to make anything they desired out of thin air. This city, Amaurot, is their city, and it remained the shining beacon of their people, until one day, their world was threatened by an unspeakable doom, and in their attempt to forestall this doom, the Amaurotines shattered this earth into the divided shards of FF14's parallel worlds and their diverse peoples. I don't think it's ever directly stated what caused this apocalypse to happen, what began the fall of Amaurot, but I think that when you look at these creatures, what they represent, and the themes of the story up to this point, it becomes crystal clear. This apocalypse happened because the people of Amaurot were afraid of death. These magical beings who could give thoughts form and make any dream a reality thought of their own death for the first time, and their fear at that idea turned death into monstrous creatures that destroyed everything they cared about. And the Ascians that remain of them are still so afraid of dying, so afraid of passing beyond memory and leaving this world to the next generation, that Emmett Selk and his ilk are willing to destroy everything and kill everyone just to bring back the world they once knew. Emmett Selk has become an extremely popular villain, with many fans believing him to be right and saying that they want to side with him, but he's not right. He wants the past, his past, back so much that he can't see all that's beautiful about the world today and the potential it has for the future. He believes that his ideal prelapsarian world, the world that fits his morality, his conception of how the world should be, is the only one that matters, and dismisses anyone who holds any value in the world as it is today, or even the world as it might be. He rejects the divided shards of FF14 and its diverse peoples, and seeks to restore it all to a single homogeneous world, and a single homogeneous race. For all that his plight does draw sympathy, Emmet Selk is ultimately a bitter, angry old man who can't accept that the world is changing and would rather tear it all down to get back to the world he remembers. Vothri, the emotionally undeveloped master of Yulmore, is a man who holds so tight to the past that he smothers it in his arms. He was given no other life other than a life of privilege, decadence and guaranteed stability. And in the end, it leaves him a twisted creature unable to recognise his own cruelty, one fed by a single unquestioning ideology from birth that he has done nothing but benefit from. He's like a monstrous parody of a trust fund kid born to hyper-capitalist parents. He doesn't know anything other than this life, so he literally cannot see what he is doing as anything other than good and just and true, even as the poor starve beneath his feet. But he's not invincible. He's not untouchable. Through the combined efforts of the people, Vothri falls from his lofty perch, proving that no tyrant can escape justice. Through the summoning of other players from beyond the rift, in what has to be one of the best JRPG nonsense moments in recent memory, even Emmet Selk the Ascian falls, and with his last words, asks us to remember him. You can, if you like, but not forever. In the end, the narration tells us that the city beneath the waves will fade, the mountains above will crumble, and even this epic saga, of world-shattering importance and epic scale, will fade from memory in time. Just like Norvrant and the First replaced Amarot in the world of the Ascians, so too will this world be replaced in time. In the age of the nostalgic reboot, this is one of the most subversive things the game says. The idea that the story you just played will not be sung about by the bards forevermore, that your contribution to the world is not the thing that will forever define it, and that eventually the story itself will fade away into nothingness, never to be told again. It won't be a Star Wars, eternally remade and reimagined and rebooted, because the world is more important than that. It's bigger than that. Other things will come along and replace us. New threats will arise and new kinds of heroes will tell new kinds of stories. And that's fine. It's good even. Important. Everyone has their time, but everyone must also eventually allow that time to end. Allow the next generation to have their moment in the sun. In a cultural landscape where it often feels like young, diverse voices are being drowned beneath an endless churning sea of nostalgia, it feels special to play something that's determined to at least say that that sea of nostalgia needs to be parted. And more than that, it spits in the eye of the idea that history has, or ever could, come to an end. That the way things are in the world are the way they will always be, and any attempt to change that is futile. It knows that all things have their time, and then they die. It knows that the way we do things now may be incapable of solving our greatest crises, that the things about our world that are unjust cannot be defended by saying this is the way it has always been, and that change, above all, will save us in the end. Thanks for watching. Hi everyone. I hope you enjoyed these little stocking fillers I threw together for the season. They were made kind of rough and rushed, so they may not have the high quality you expect from me, but I hope you enjoyed them well enough anyway. 2019 was a pretty big year for me, a real roller coaster, and 2020 doesn't look like it's going to let up anytime soon. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's commented, liked, shared, or just watched the videos over the past year. I know the schedule's been slipshod, which is why it's all the more meaningful whenever people do enjoy the stuff I make. Almost all the comments I get are really lovely, except on that one video, and it really makes me smile whenever I read one. And as for you precious few hundred subscribers, you're all cuties with great taste. I'm gonna take a little break for a month or so to catch up on the games I missed in the last year, but rest assured, I will be back in 2020 with new stuff. I've got a little project in the pipeline that I'm really excited about, and I can't wait to show it off to you guys when it's ready. But to tide you over until then, I've got one last slate of awards to give out. Maestro, hit the music.
Disco Elysium. Death Stranding. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. The Missing, J.J. Macfield and the Island of Lost Memories. Jeez, where is saying that one 3 times fast? Sayonara Wild Hearts. Resident Evil 2 Remake. Kind Words. A Short Hike. Borderlands 3. Star Wars: Jedi: Fallen Order. Halo Reach. The Jackbox Party Pack number 6. Watchmen. I feel like I say Watchmen. Watchmen.
Gosh, that was a lot of video game opinions, and most of them were almost certainly wrong. You'll have plenty of things to be mad about until the next video comes out. I guess all there is left to say at this point is the most obvious things. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, Happy whatever, and most of all, Happy New Year. I don't know how your year turned out, but I know next year is going to turn out much better. This was supposed to be someone from Case 4 of the Silver Case, but didn't really turn out that way. It's more like an L. A big L that I've taken. How fucking poetic.